What's up again there, guys? Brian here at 3CR. Welcome to the next episode of the People's Questions, where I answer all the awesome questions you guys have sent over the past week. We got a pretty standard episode, not too long but not too short, from all regulars. So jumping right into them, the first question comes from Abel. I've practically given up on trying to say your last name. And you want to know, what other video game franchise would I want to put in my Versus Series matchups other than Final Fantasy, Tomb Raider, Infamous, Resident Evil, Devil May Cry, Metal Gear, or the Uncharted franchise? Probably nothing else. Number one, I've only used Uncharted in Tomb Raider once, and I think I'm only going to use it once because Nathan Drake versus Lara Croft is the only matchup you could do between those two franchises. Infamous, there's only one matchup you could really do in that franchise also, and that's Cole versus Delson. I've already done that twice, so I'm not using Infamous anymore. Devil May Cry, I'm not sure if I can use characters from Devil May Cry, but I'm not sure I can't do any more Devil May Cry focused matchups, so that really just leaves me with Final Fantasy and Resident Evil, which is kind of what I'm focused on right now, and maybe a couple Metal Gear Solid matchups at this point. But I think I'm just going to stick with those right now, because the advantage I have of doing those matchups is that I've been playing them and I know them so well. If I were to introduce any other franchises, it would be something I probably wouldn't know all that well, or I wouldn't have a long history with. And so I would have to do all this research and stuff from scratch. And I think that would take me even longer to do. And I would prefer to work with a franchise that I was familiar with than something that I have to completely learn from scratch. So I think I'm good with the franchises I'm using right now, especially with Final Fantasy. There's a bunch of matchups I could do with that one because there's so many playable characters. Next question comes from Matt Cruse. He wants to know, have I seen the YouTube series Superpower Beatdown from Bat and the Sun? Yeah, I've seen it. Good production value. I think some of them are a little bit too much popular choice. They've definitely done some interesting matchups that make sense, and they've also done other matchups that don't make sense. But overall, I think it's a pretty solid channel. Next question comes from Santiago Scarpino. You want to know, what is my favorite Star Wars Expanded Universe storyline? Dark Empire. Simply because it's nice seeing Palpatine actually take an active role in doing something. It's nice to kind of see Luke Skywalker kind of turn to the dark side for a little bit, and it's nice to see Han and Leia kind of work together in order to get through these really bad situations. And I think that the Empire at that point was a lot more dangerous because, you know, Palpatine was just kind of a little bit out there. I mean, he had all these clone bodies that, you know, for those of you that don't know, he can transfer his consciousness into all these clone bodies, and like that's one of the main storylines. And the whole point, he's trying to find a new host, and he kind of want to focus on Princess Leia and Han Solo's child. And I think that's a pretty interesting. I think that's a pretty interesting concept. That Palpatine is so desperate he wants to go near a child, and so I definitely the Dark Empire trilogy. Next question comes from Goku Son. You want to know, would I like to see Assassin's Creed Protagonist or Resident Evil Protagonist in a DLC for Uncharted 4 multiplayer, just how they added Left 4 Dead characters to the multiplayer of Resident Evil 6? No, because it makes absolutely no sense to have those characters in Uncharted 4. And I'm not even sure if anyone is still playing the multiplayer for that anymore. I mean, I'm sure people there are, but not that many. I certainly don't even play that game anymore because I platinumed that game within like a few days of getting it, so I don't even play the game much anymore. But no, there's some DLC characters that make sense and others that don't. This one, adding Assassin's Creed and Resident Evil characters to Uncharted just makes no sense. Next question comes from Macho Wesker 17. You want to know, had Bane not interfered, or just before we begin, this kind of relates to the Path of Destruction Darth Bane trilogy storyline in the Star Wars Expanded Universe. But Macho Wesker wants to know, had Bane not interfered, do I think the Brotherhood of Darkness would have defeated the Army of Light, or would both sides have remained in impasse indefinitely? No, it would not have been an impasse indefinitely. No war does that. One side will give, and it would most likely would have been the Brotherhood of Darkness. And the reason for that is because the dark side has a tendency to turn on itself, and you have to remember by that time, Khan had pretty much gone insane. And so when you have a leader that is insane, obviously your forces are going to are going to lose its cohesion. And another thing about the Sith, one of the biggest issues that Bane had with, which is why he sought its destruction, was that the Sith had a tendency to have all this infighting. And so I think that as the conflict went on, I think the Sith would start turning on each other. Like, some people would want to keep fighting. Some Sith would probably say, like, screw this, you don't like this, let's not do this anymore. And then you would have a small civil war happening within the Sith Order itself, which happened numerous times throughout the expanded universe storyline, which obviously would have weakened their ranks, and then the Army of Light would have eventually conquered. So, no, I definitely think that had Bane not interfered, the fight wouldn't have gone on forever. The Army of Light would eventually have won. Your next question comes from Iains Younger, and you want to know, if I could play any video game professionally, which one would I play? Probably Mortal Kombat, because Mortal Kombat is my favorite fighting franchise, and I think that's like maybe the one game I might be able to. If I didn't have a normal 9-to-5 job, I probably could play that game religiously to the point where I would feel comfortable playing in tournaments. I've never actually done that myself, but I think if there's any one franchise I would want to try out in a tournament, it would probably be Mortal Kombat. Your next question comes from HydroGoBlood881, and you want to know, do I think that Big Boss or Salt Snake would get along with Logan, aka Wolverine? Oh, I'm sure Big Boss could, because they both smoke cigars. Anyone can get along with Wolverine. I mean, he's not just some crazed, angry animal all the time. I mean, Logan can be funny. Logan can be like any normal guy. It's just as long as you don't get on his bad side or annoy him, you really have no issues with him. I mean, heck, as far as I know, Big Boss and Salt Snake could get along with Wolverine without them even needing to know he was a mutant. I mean, as long as he doesn't use his claws or doesn't take any serious damage so he heals automatically, you wouldn't even know he was a mutant at all. So, yeah, I don't see why they couldn't get along. Next question comes from Zyborg136. He wants to know, do I think that they will cast someone in the next line of X-Men films to play Wolverine? I'm sure they will. I don't think we'll see, I don't think we'll see a new Wolverine. I mean, personally, I would not want to see a new Wolverine for at least 10 years. After going through 17 years with Hugh Jackman, we could go a very long time without needing to see a new Wolverine. I literally would wait a decade or until the X-Men films are rebooted. And as far as we know, I know that they have one more X-Men movie that I think they're about to start going into pre-production now. And then you have the Deadpool movies, and then you have the X-Force movies, and so there's a lot of movies that we could do in this current line of X-Men films before needing to do a full-out reboot, which would then require a new Wolverine. And if they do that, I don't want Wolverine to be the focus. I mean, I think that's probably the one weakness I've had with these films, or most of them, is that they're so Wolverine-focused. That's why I really enjoyed Deadpool, or I enjoyed Days of Future's Past, or First Class so much, was that they proved that you could have a good X-Men movie without Wolverine having to be the focus. I mean, even in the first 3 X-Men films, Wolverine was the focus, and that which always felt weird to me, because don't get me wrong, I mean, Hugh Jackman played that character great, but Wolverine was never he was never the focus of the X-Men. He was kind of a side character. I would say someone like Storm or Cyclops, especially Cyclops, was more significant to the X-Men team than Wolverine ever was. So, how he got so popular even surprises me, but yeah, I do think we will get a Wolverine. I just don't want to see him for a long time. I don't want them to do what they did with Ben Affleck's Batman, how they waited like 3 years before we had new Batman. I would like them to allow Hugh Jackman's Batman Wolverine to kind of stand the test of time before they got someone else to play him. Next question comes from JDS4696. He wants to know, do I think that Aloy is an interesting female protagonist? I think Aloy is an incredible, not just female protagonist, but just a protagonist altogether. I recently beat Horizon Zero Dawn, which I'm not sure if I have the review up now by the time this video is up or not, or I'm close to getting it done. But I thought that Aloy was just a truly incredible character. I even said on social media that this franchise, which I'm not spoiling anything, this definitely can be a franchise. They definitely did leave it open for a sequel. But this would act as a great substitute for the Uncharted franchise. And I'll even go so far as to say that I got just as much character development for Aloy as I did with all 5 of the Uncharted games. I think that it really took them 5 games for us to fully flesh out Uncharted's Nathan Drake, but they were able to do that much character development and that much growth with Aloy in this one game, which I highly recommend it. This is absolutely a game that is worth buying a PlayStation 4 for just to play. That's how much I enjoyed it, and that's how much I liked Aloy as a character. The next question comes from Andrew Rogers. You want to know, for the new matchup coming up, have I decided on which Dante I will use? Yeah, I think I pretty much solidified which Dante I'm going to use. I'm probably going to, for those that don't know, the season finale for this season of Versus Matchups is going to be Final Fantasy Advent Children's Cloud going up against Dante, and I think I'm going to go with Dante from Devil May Cry 1, simply because I think that Devil May Cry 3 Dante is a little too young, which would make him on par with someone like basic Final Fantasy 7 Cloud. So I'll use an experienced version of both these characters, and so the next level above Devil May Cry 3 Dante will be Devil May Cry 1 Dante. In terms of weapons, I'm not going to give him Sparta's sword. I'm going to keep the weapons that he will have is just the weapons that he's been carrying throughout the entire franchise, which is just his Rebellion sword and the Ebony and Ivory handguns. I think those are the only weapons he's going to be using in that matchup. But yeah, I'm definitely going to be using Devil May Cry 1 Dante for that matchup. And the last question of the episode comes from John Allen, and he wants to know, which older game franchise would I like to see them bring back on the new consoles? Well, I would like for Ubisoft to get off their asses and give us a Dead Space 4. I mean, a lot of people have, they've been teasing that game for years. And I want a Dead Space 4. I want to see what it would look like on the current consoles. I think it's been long enough. Give me a Dead Space 4. You left it open at the end of Dead Space 3, so what the hell are they waiting for? So, yeah, I want a Dead Space 4. And with that, those are the questions that you guys sent in for this week. I'd like to thank all of you guys for sending your questions to making this episode possible. If you guys have any more questions you'd like me to answer in next week's episode, be sure you comment them in the comments down below, but make sure you get them into me before next Wednesday before I start filming this. And like always, thank you guys for watching. You're awesome, and I will see you next time.